get in touch with Mr. Vineet Bolinchkar for a conversation from Ventura Securities. Along with him, we also have Mr. Shrikant Chouhan from Kotak Securities to try and understand the market breadth better. And of course, Kunal is still with us in the studio. Vineet, coming to you first. Hi, good afternoon. It's good to be chatting with you after quite some time. Talk to us about how you are reading the market move overall, the kind of decent days that we've seen leading up to today's trading session the past 2 days, and today the kind of subduedness that we are trading with in the near to medium term. Now that earnings are behind us, all the positive triggers that were expected to happen in terms of the trade deal, all of that has already shaped up well. What is the outlook on where the market could be heading, and are you expecting any major moves?
So I think, market is well positioned to hit 27,000 from current levels. We have been in that tight band of worry because of constant pressure on the international markets. But I think we have climbed every wall of worry, and all things after the tariffs, the various FTAs that we have signed, and the encouraging results that we have seen in the quarters point to a very, very strong growth trajectory going ahead. And as I mentioned to you, we think that 27,000 is very much on the cards, and we should be hitting new highs.
Okay, very interesting. Shrikant Chauhan, what are you seeing, Shrikant, on charts? Do you expect, any moves upwards or downwards on the index from a chart perspective?
Yeah, good afternoon.
Good afternoon.
I think still like the market has crossed important level of 25,800, despite there was, we can say, weak response from IT stocks. Crossing this important level of 25,800 clearly indicates that our markets are now heading towards the levels of 26,000. So we may see some more activity in BFSI and maybe other large cap stocks like Reliance Industries and ITC. So broadly, we are of the view that market is going to consolidate. We are not going to see any runaway rally in the market. We need to be more and more stock specific. But yes, with a very short-term view, the market has crossed important level and the chances of hitting 26,000 are very, very high.
Okay, interesting. Shrikant, hold that thought. IDFC First is stepping up. It's Vineet, I wonder what's your call on metals at this point? Tata Steel at 52-week highs, the Nifty Metal Index at 12,000. What next?
I think the trend towards purchasing of hard metal currencies is going to continue, and they're only going to get stronger. And we continue to remain buyers, and albeit for a little bit of sideways correction that we have seen, we think that these are very, very good levels to enter metal stocks. We like Hindustan Zinc the most, and Tata Steel, I think, is an extremely undervalued stock, and we should be seeing all the steel companies also join the bandwagon as they move towards higher levels.
Okay, Vineet, talk to us a little bit about both Tata Steel as well as Hindustan Zinc. Give us the thesis there. You're saying Tata Steel is undervalued. What's the likely unwind going to be like going forward, at least on the earnings front? Because my sense is that stock price will follow earnings thereafter.
Yeah, so if you see Hindustan Zinc, I think, the average pricing that is there, as we've seen silver prices move higher, is going to continue to add to the EPS and profitability. And in the case of, Tata Steel, we are seeing very, very strong traction in terms of demand. We are seeing very good, regulatory action, which is protecting the Indian markets. And I think all these factors add very well to the story. And we believe that Tata Steel should move very aggressively from here.
Okay, so that's how Hindustan Zinc and the other stock, they're shaping up, Tata Steel that is, how they're shaping up in terms of valuations. Shrikant, a chart check on names like Hindustan Zinc particularly, given the kind of silver rally that we had seen and the uptick on the stock, more than 700 is where the stock was at, and then it's seen a very sharp correction, now around that 585 mark. Do you believe, at least on the charts, there is more correction in store for something like a Hindustan Zinc, add to that mix a Hindustan Copper as well? And what's the outlook on both of these names?
So for precious metals, I'm of the view that the market, I'm to say these commodities are going to take time. They are going to consolidate furthermore. And at higher levels, certainly we are going to see profit taking or maybe selling pressure in the market. So at this level, it is better to stay away from taking any specific buying view on Hindustan Zinc. I am of the view that it is going to consolidate and maybe it remain lackluster for next couple of weeks or months. So at present, there is no view, but yes, the stocks which are into, let's say, diversified business like Hindustan Copper or uh, GMDC especially, there Vedanta GMDC, I think there we can expect further more activity in the near term, and there we should look for adding some long positions. We are specifically bullish on steel stocks. There we are expecting further more activity, and in that, our preferred picks are JSW Steel and Jindal Steel and Power. So from the metal space, the focus should be more on steel stocks as well as on little bit diversified companies like GMDC and Vedanta.
Interesting. And let me come back to you, Vineet. You know, platform companies, especially the likes of a Paytm. There was a Macquarie note which came through a couple of days back, due to which Paytm has done very well over the last few days. You have been a bull on Paytm since maybe sub 700 levels, if I recall right. Where next for this stock in terms of price, and what's the value unlock journey going to look like in terms of profitability, in your opinion?
So double-digit growth is very much for the asking, and that, coupled with its very, very disciplined cost measures, is going to add to the margins. And all these things are very positive, and our some of the parts valuations indicates that we are heading somewhere in the region of 1,800 to 2,000 over the next 1 year.
Okay, so that's on Paytm. Kunal, want a chart check from you on some of these cigarette names that are doing very well. That entire overhang of this GST slab being increased to 40%, the sin good slab, and this excise duty, the addition of that from the government seems to be largely behind these stocks, at least the way they're performing on in terms of the stock price. But also some brokerages have been flagging off that price hikes are underway for some of these names, and they could potentially mitigate the entire bottom line impact of these negative developments. On the charts, how would you read an ITC compared to a Godfrey Phillips? Given that Godfrey has just hit upper circuit of 20%, what's your take on the charts?
Yeah, I think though both these stocks are now looking like that there's a major bottom in place for both of these names, including ITC. The stock which was beaten down, I think 25%. Even Godfrey Phillips, I think the stock had corrected from 2,800, 2,850 or 3,000-ish kind of levels to almost 2,000 mark. So there was a 25% correction on both of these names. And Godfrey Phillips, I think, has recovered almost 50% of that 1,000-point odd correction for itself, now coming to that 2,500 levels. ITC, on the other hand, the stock is still, I think, some 18 points away from breaking that 50% barrier. So I believe that both of these stocks start to look attractive. What matters over here now is the beta nature for these stocks, because ITC historically has been a low beta stock. But because of the recent sell-off the stock has seen, you might see some bit of increase in the beta on the stock price. I wouldn't be surprised that the stock comes close to that 350 kind of a mark, potentially in the next couple of weeks. And I think for Godfrey Phillips, we could be looking at the stock slowly and gradually moving towards that 2750 to even 2950 mark, where the sell-off started off. So I think now we are in a process where many of these huge underperforming stocks, a high sell-off stocks, what they've seen in the last 1 or 2 months, they could be at a point where you might expect a V-shaped recovery into many of these names.
Interesting. 20% up is what Godfrey Phillips is doing, 2.5% higher in an ITC. I wonder what a VST is also doing, if you can throw that one as well in. and try and quickly have a look as to what a VST Industries is doing. There you go, 3% higher on a VST Industries as well. Vineet, I wonder how you look at some of these cigarette counters. You believe that it's mitigatable, is the additional indirect tax that is being levied on cigarettes, is pricing not as much of a concern, and if price hikes are undertaken, will demand compress?
We've seen that play out over years, every time that the GST rates have been increased, taxation has gone up, there is a initial lull in terms of volume pickup, but eventually the demand does come back in spite of higher prices. So they are very oblivious to price hikes, and price hikes are inevitable, and that is what consumers also understand. And we've seen them take these things in their stride and move on. And I think that VST Industries is very well positioned to benefit among the three players.
Okay, so that's the fundamental view on some of the cigarette companies. One company that's, in fact, there are two companies now that are going to be coming out with their earnings tomorrow. One is ABB and the other is CIA Automotive. Shrikant, any chart check on ABB if you stack it up with other cap good players like a Siemens, for example? Which one looks better on the charts, and any specific view on ABB on the charts?
Yeah, I think this space is also buzzing very well since last almost 1 month. And there is like a lot of buying interest in stocks like ABB, Thermax, Cummins, including Siemens. So there we can expect further more activity, and most of these stocks have spent a lot of time, close to I can say 6-7 months. Uh, they were like finding difficulties to cross important resistance level. But now, after this particular time-based consolidation, most of the stocks have managed to surpass immediate resistance level. Like Cummins has crossed the level of 4,000, and thereafter we are seeing consistent rally in the stock. So similar sort of activity is not ruled out in stock like ABB, which is currently around 58.80, 58.70. Based on technicals, we are bullish on it, and we are expecting this stock to move towards the levels of 6,500. It will take time. It's a positional call. It will take months to reach over those levels. But at current levels also, it looks very strong candidate to buy for. We also like Thermax, which is around 3,095, and it is still available at 52-week lows. There, the stock has formed double bottom sort of formation. And if the overall space is going to do well, we can expect at least 10 to 15% sort of activity from this particular stock also.
All right, ABB, in fact, now.
Kunal, talk to us about transformers and rectifiers on the charts. It's touched that 300 mark today. 9.5% uptick coming in on the stock. In the last 6 months, the stock is lower by 40%. That's quite a steep knock that the stock has seen in the recent past. And now, given this uptick, would it make for a confident, good entry point for the stock, or is it a wait and watch call from your end?
No, I think it's a definite, definitely a very interesting chart, because there is a distinct feature about the stock in the last 2-3 months is the huge jump in terms of volumes. You look at the monthly volumes for the stock in the last, I think, 4 months or 3 months, and the average volume for the stock is around 18.5 to 20 crores on the monthly basis. Now you compare this with the last, I think, maybe 2 years. That's around 22 months for the stock price. The average volume for the stock was around 1.5 to 2 crores. Now that's a significant jump the stock has seen in terms of volumes. This generally happens when there is a fresh wave of buying which happens into stock prices, or fresh investors who've entered into the stock. So I believe that purely on the basis of volumes, even on the short-term charts, like the last 2 months, the stock forming a double bottom of sorts, taking support at 230, 225 levels, that establishes a strong support for the stock. So I think in that context, this looks like a stock which is getting accumulated and looks very attractive. But for this kind of stocks, you'll have to have two important parameters. One is that your risk appetite has to be on the higher side, because these stocks could be very high beta in nature. You might see swings of 10%, 15% on a couple of days, and then a price correction of 5-7% on subsequent days. So you'll have to be ready with that. And the second is that your time frame cannot be short term. Your time frame has to be at least 6 months, 1 year, or more than that.
Okay. Shrikant, then we come to you with regard to Cohance. That's the other one that's buzzing. Cohance and Oran Pro Solutions. Some of these have been very volatile in general. Any call with regard to either of these?
No, I think these stocks have fallen drastically from their highs, and currently, whatever the up move that we are witnessing, it's just a pullback to the sell-off that they witnessed in last several months. So I am of the view that it is better to stay away from taking any such riskier bets. In these markets, there should not be like we should not be like contrarian buyer. Instead, we should look for taking some trending or maybe trend following bets in these markets.
Okay, so that's on Cohance. While we're talking about the pharma space, the other stock in focus today is Aurobindo Pharma. You know, USFDA has flagged off some issues at their Telangana unit. They've issued a Form 483 with 9 observations and some very grave observations. In fact, it talks about unclean equipment and utensils, inadequate control over computer systems, master records have lacked complete instructions, investigations have found all of these gaps in their operations. They've failed to thoroughly investigate batch discrepancies, and they fail to call or recall these batches as well. The GMP training is not conducted with sufficient frequency. Quality control unit responsibilities and procedures are not fully followed, and the USFDA also flags that established lab control mechanisms are not followed. Laboratory records do not include a complete record of all data obtained. So lots of issues on the operational front, on the record keeping front. So that's not looking good for Aurobindo Pharma today at all. In fact, the stock is low by 2.5%. Shrikant, the chart check on Aurobindo Pharma, what are the levels showing you right now? How is this chart shaping up?
Yeah, so for most of the pharma companies, I'm of the view that they are consolidating at a higher base, and eventually maybe it will take time of months or 2 months, but eventually we are expecting pharma companies to do well. But in the near term, we are expecting further more consolidation because still they are below their important resistance levels. But on long-term charts, eventually we are going to see upward breakout. That's my view. And based on that, we have drawn the strategy. We are buying these top companies like Aurobindo Pharma, Glenmark Pharma, as well as Sun Pharma to our positional portfolio. Especially for Aurobindo Pharma, currently it is around 1160. It is finding difficulties to sustain at higher levels, but whenever there is a correction in the market and stock, the stock is finding support close to 1100. So at current levels also it's a buy with a target of 1200 on immediate basis, but eventually I am expecting stock to move towards the levels of 1400 or 1450.
That's a chart check on Aurobindo. Vineet, very quickly, we only have a couple of minutes before market close. How are you reading this issue for Aurobindo? And recently, USFD has flagged off a lot of concerns for some other listed companies as well. How much of a concern is this for some of the listed companies? How should we be reading into this?
Yeah, it's a matter of concern, and couple this along with the fact that we are seeing some kind of pressure build up on the dollar. It's going to impact their earnings. So we are kind of a little guarded on pharma stocks, especially the ones which are flagged off by the regulators.
Okay, so that's the take on some of the listed companies within the pharma space and the recent USFDA action that we've seen over there too. On that note, Vineet and Shrikant, thanks so much for joining us. We'll let you go. Just